Animacja pośrodku na kartonowym tle, dwie dłonie w rękawiczkach. Prawa w białej, lewa w czarnej. Dłonie splatają palce, rozciągają się, znikają. Lalka, nie lalka. Prelekcje inspirowane wystąpieniami typu TED. Jakub Matys. Multimedialne media ekspresji. Scena z ekranem do prezentacji.
Jakub Matys was born in Kielce and he studied in Kielce in Jan Kochanowski University. He studied graphic design and multimedia and he received his PhD title there as well in the field of fine arts. And today he will present to us his project that you can touch afterwards here. So come and touch it after the presentation. Yes? Yeah. Yes, yeah, of course. It will be Voxel Screen. It is the name of this project and this box. And Voxel Screen was awarded the main prize during the international competition for the concept and implementation of object, animated form or theater form in Kielce in 2021. It was last year. This project, Voxel Screen, won it. And what I can say about Jakub Matys's work and artistic work is that he deals with algorithms, computer codes, interactive computer newest technology, and the newest multimedia that I really don't understand, but I said to Marek Zimakiewicz that it is possible. So it is, and we will surely find out in a second. And he also deals with video games, with 3D graphics and digital painting. Digital painting. I really want to see it, Jakub, someday. Will you show us digital painting as well? He doesn't hear me. Okay, but he just will introduce us to the world of multimedia and graphic design with Voxel Screen. Jakub Matys.
Podaje mikrofon.
Hello, my name is Jakub Matys. And first of all, I'm terribly sorry if I seem to you nervous, because this situation being on the stage is not so common for me as for you. So normally I would just take some lecture and read it to the other boring people. So I am a teacher in university, Jan Kochanowski University in Kielce, and I teach everything connected to computer science, computer graphics, like game design, application design, some programming for the arts of fine arts, and even some parts of robotics. I came here today to talk to you about this project which won the contest mentioned earlier, and before I will talk about this particular project, I would like to talk to you about my ways of expression as a visual artist and as a multimedia artist, and give you just a few examples because we don't have much time. And I would start with why I choose this way of artistic expression. And in the early stage of my education, artistic education, I was very inspired by this Hungarian artist Tamas Walicki, and he had like many groundbreaking works in the world of interactive art. But what inspired me the most was his
Na laptopie zmienia slajd.
manifesto of computer art. Sorry, this is only in Polish. And you would find this on his website. And in his manifesto, he concluded that we, as a computer artist, a multimedia artist, artists who deal with computer science, computer technologies, we should use those technologies to create new worlds, something new, something you've never seen before, or you've never seen those technologies used for this purpose. And there are like stadium big spaces filled with computers that calculating movement of a hair on the character's body for the movies just to create the illusion of reality. But as artists, we should find completely new worlds and new ways of using those technologies. So that was always my greatest inspiration and my aim in my creations as a multimedia artist. So I would start with this first project of mine as multimedia artist, and I call this...
Sięga dłonią do laptopa, zmienia slajd.
I call this all that we lose while we blink. So I've done some research, and it happened to be that you would lose almost 1/10 of your visual aspect of your life only by blinking, not including sleeping. And imagine listening to the music if your ears would have the same specific as your eyes, and it would have to blink, and you would lose a lot of noise. So I wanted to create something that would prevent this from happening, to prevent and to preserve those visual moments. So I created those goggles that can detect moment of the blinking with one camera pointed to your eye and other camera making photo from your point of view in the same moment. And later on, I would take those photos and create something like stop motion movie from your point of view. I don't know if we would have time. I have one of those movies here, and it was very inspiring for me. And I wanted to try to preserve something from losing, but I didn't solve the problem that when I watch these movies later on, I also blink and I can't stop this, okay? And there is this loop that you cannot stop. So in my other project, I stand in opposition for this research of finding artificial intelligence. And I wanted to start from something simpler. Wait a moment, one slide back. Okay, and I thought that it would be easier to find artificial stupidity first. So, and it's this like bigger project of mine, and it contains many installations, but first of the installations I called a contemporary art interpreter for the eye of modern society. So this is kind of parasitic installation that you would put inside of a abstract art exhibition, and it don't exist on its own. It needs other artists' paintings. So it contains this camera that you would point on the picture you are interested in, and on the screen next to this camera you would see very simplistic interpretation of this particular picture, and you would see those lines that are finding the shapes on these pictures, and there are also names, textual informations, what you see, and those would be very simplistic, like this is a dog, this is a cat, just like you would like to interpret a childish painting. And I have to say, other artists didn't like this idea a lot because there is this funny thing in interpreting abstract art. And one of the first artists who for today we see as a pioneer in abstract art and abstract painting, of course I'm saying about Wassily Kandinsky. What I think he wanted to do is to give to visual artists this special language of expression that for his times, and maybe even for our times, is restricted and preserved only for music and musicians. That when you are hearing music, you hear it and you just create emotions. It hits you straight to your heart. And as a visual artist, we don't have this idea. We don't have this ability. And Kandinsky, painting his just fields with colors and lines, wanted to give us something like this. And I think some of the critics broke this idea a little bit for us, because today you have always this idea that if you are seeing paintings, you have to know what the artist had in mind. And I don't like this idea a lot. So the next time I created this machine that would paint abstract paintings with traditional media, with paint, with brushes, with paint, with and paint it on canvas. And I wanted to exclude artists completely from the process of creating abstract painting, and that's what I've done. And it painted a lot of paintings, about 80 of them. And here you see those paintings. And if you would ask what the artist had in mind, I can tell you nothing, because it had no mind. And if you see anything in these pictures, either you think those are beautiful, those are ugly, or whatever, remember, it's only your mind. Okay, so this is like one-way mirroring or something like this, when the act of perceiving something, perception, is creating the object in fact. And what's funny about this project is that I get my PhD by not my paintings. Okay, so that was, yeah.
Na slajdzie przykłady prac.
Okay, so I have no time to show you more of example of my creations, but now I will tell you about this object that you see here, and maybe I will try to move it so you could see it much more clearly.
Przechodzi na prawo do instalacji.
And maybe screen won't be so important. So, okay, yeah, let's leave it like this, so the cables won't move. And okay, sorry for this little interruption. So
Ktoś przesuwa obiekt na środek sceny.
I have to look at my papers. Sorry, very quickly.
Jakub przechodzi na lewo. Na stoliku przekłada kartki.
Okay, so this is the project that won this Animatus contest. It's a international competition for creation of puppet animated object of theatrical form. And I thought that we have tons and tons of technologies that let us create two-dimensional animations and pictures. And we have those virtual goggles that make everyone sick. And we have these big steps in development of not artificial, but augmented reality. But it's all fake. It's all just an illusion and a projection. We have near to zero technologies that let us create three-dimensional, or at least 2.5D dimensional animation. And I had this idea in my mind for the longer time, and I found this information about Animatus contest, and I thought, if I want to realize this idea of mine, I would need some money, yeah, and they were giving money if you want, so I won. And then I had this idea basically that if two-dimensional pixels are created, two-dimensional objects and animations are created by pixels, the smallest parts of an object, you could do the same for the three-dimensional animation with some kind of pixels, but they would have to be three-dimensional, and that's how I call it voxels. Yeah, that's how you call three-dimensional pixel. And instead of containing color values, they would have to move forward and backward. So that was basically my idea for this Animatus context. And actually, in the contest, we had very little time. It was only about 1 month, and I had to work after my daily job and doing other stuff. And and I have like a lot of problems, technical problems. Here you can see some early stages of design and visualization, very early visualizations, how they should work, of course. But thinking about the short period of time, and I had like tons and tons of technical problems. For example, when we ordered these servo mechanisms from some exotic country, then they, politely speaking, didn't work as they should, and they still don't. So this is just a prototype. And I couldn't do such a big screen, so I made only this prototype 10 by 10 pixels, and we have to work with this.
Jakub zagląda do notatek. Przekłada stronę.
So after all, when everything was working more or less as it should, there was this biggest question: what can I do with this? And actually, it was the question on the second stage of this contest when jury asked me, what do you want to do with this? And I was like, what do you mean? This is like, I just invented a screen. What can you do with the screen? Everything. And they were like, no, but give us the example. So the first thing that came to my mind was that this situation of a dialogue of actor or actress with some alien form and how they would communicate, because only thing in common they would have the movement, and they would have to move, communicate by movement and in three-dimensional space. So I thought that that was interesting situation, and the jury, I saw already that they like this idea, and so that's what I decided to do in this project.
Jakub pochyla się nad stolikiem.
So basically, the Animatus contest ended with this big event in Kubuś Theater in Kielce, where every winners had to perform their act or performance with their inventions, of course. So we were given really great help from the crew of the theater and help from the professional actors. And I had the greatest luck to work with this wonderful actress, Aleksandra Sapieska. And actually, whole plot of the act was her idea. She had this idea that she would wake up in this unexpected presence of a moving wall, and she would tell her dream, and the wall would try to animate what she was talking about. And later on the, let's say, grand finale, machine would take over the movement of a body of Alexandra. And I had to write some algorithms that I will show you on the ending of this lecture with this machine and how it moves. And let's see, I can show you some photos. Yeah, this is, I forget about this slide. Yeah, you're seeing here my daughter helping me a lot, and that was only her by hand. So you can see, yeah, if you have like 10 by 10, it seems not a lot, but actually it's 100, and even if you have to drill one hole at least 100 times, it takes a lot of time. So it was all designed by me, and later on printed on 3D printers you've seen there. So over 1 month, my house was like 24 hours by day, just the sound of 3D printers, and my family really didn't like that. So yeah, and those are photos from the, let's say, etude, theatrical form, with Alexandra, and you see some, the lighting actually made a great job with taking movement of those voxels in very clear way, because here you won't see it very clearly, but you can use it much better with the right light, okay? And when my first idea about this machine was to show some realistic form, like move of a hand, like faces even, but with 10 by 10 pixels we couldn't do this, and we have to base on something you could call, I don't know, textural animation. And that was the greatest revelation for me in this project, and my greatest inspiration. Because if you are thinking, when I am thinking about animation, you would think about some, especially puppet animation, you would think about some humanoid form or animal form using body language as a language of expression. And I've realized that there is this whole world that I could call ambience animation, or animation of ambient, that is complex, is built of singular forms, modules, almost identical forms, and there is whole language of expressions into them. So when you see movement of a leaves on a tree, that can be soothing, that can make you calm, but when there is a storm, it can be completely chaotic, and it's something completely different emotions. And it's the same with the movement of the waves, with the movement of fields of crops or grass, or even with clouds or rain. And that's something that I discovered that day. And thanks to this great experience with being on the stage and involvement with puppet theater, And so I think that every machine that can do this, that can give you this language of expression, has its special place in visual arts, and especially in theater. Because in theater, you will never get rid of true artifact forms. You will never replace them, parts of scenography, with just an illusion of two-dimensional projection. And you need something to the actor can interact with, and just some things that can take the same light that actor taking. So that was my greatest inspiration and experience with theater. And actually that's all. I will maybe now show you how it works. Okay.
Jakub przechodzi na prawo.
So basically you have this screen that you can create some movement. Just if you, this would be like touch screen, you can do this, and those squares that no one see are representing those forms, those voxels. If I use them, you will see them move in the places where I would use this. But actually, that was used when Alexandra was trying, like, talking. She was talking about drawing with a finger on the sand, but mostly we used something like programmed motion. For example, we have something like rain. Okay, let's make it a little bit quicker.
Obiekt w kształcie kwadratu zbudowanego ze 100 sześcianów.
And you would have like these falling drops, and with the right lighting and the movement of hands of Alexandra, it would be much more clear. So we would have like these waves. And now that was like finale, I'm sorry. And those were waves of the ocean, and at the end was some random movement that would take control over Alexandra's dance and this great performance from her. And she was actually great, and I'm very sorry that she couldn't be here today and talk about her part. She was just great in this communication between machines and human, including me. So yeah, that's all from my part. Thank you all. Thank you for inviting me.